Hey everybody, a somewhat defeated, somewhat mopey and sad, but overall optimistic Quack from the Quack 12. That is right. We're probably going to have a little more laid back of an episode here because what I've found over the years is after a heartbreaking loss, even if the game is fantastic, which objectively, I think if you're not an Oregon fan, I think it's safe to admit, like, holy cow, that game was crazy good. If you were just some Big Ten jabroni, which we will have to deal with a bunch of them, not too long. But if you're, some Big Ten schmuck and you're watching that game, that gave you a great representation, one of the best representations of this rivalry that you could possibly have. Two teams really on top of their game. And I know that was a heartbreaking loss. A lot of fans are quick to blame. Well, I think what I've seen overall here for the Ducks is that they are quick to blame the coaches, which is fair enough. They're the ones making millions of dollars, right? Them and Bo Nix. $1 million for Bo Nix, something like that. But, and I think that's fair. It's fair to blame the coaches, especially when you go in there and you're saying balls to the wall, we're going to be absolutely aggressive, which is very clear that was Dan Lanning's game plan, it was interesting. It was like aggressive play calling in, given the down and distance, yet at the same time, certainly not as just all gas, no brakes in the passing game as Washington, is doing right now. Because clearly that is one of the best offenses in the country that we just faced, in their territory. And it was different kinds of threats, but in my opinion, equally dangerous. Now, Bo Nix was going for a lot of quick, screens, shorter passes in general, hoping that Washington's defense would miss some tackles or that our playmakers would, be able to squeeze out some extra yards. And overall, they did. I mean, we had the winning game plan in the end. And I think for a lot of Duck fans, obviously, what it comes down to is, what do you think about those fourth down plays? Am I right? I mean, those are always the most dramatic ones. Those kind of mean the most, can alter a game completely. I know a lot of old school people are saying, why didn't we go for the field goals? And, when we lose by 3 points, I can't really blame you for having that mentality, especially when it's old football knowledge. Take the points when you can get them, especially when we got that turnover, which, I mean, in that first half, it looked like they were unstoppable, or at least, to our secondary. They were just streaking down the field, easily scoring. We get that awesome interception from Jaleel Florence, who later gets injured. Get that pick, mainly because of a miscommunication every once in a while. When Michael Penix is airing out so much, it's bound to happen, and we took advantage of our opportunity. And we go down the field. We were on the 3-yard line. I love the idea of going for it. Certainly on third down, I didn't mind the idea of throwing it, though at the same time, and I'm sure a lot of other Duck fans are feeling this, we were doing so well in the run game. And it's not like late game when we were running and they were absolutely expecting it and selling it out because you had to save the game. For us, you still had the element of they've got to, actually worry about the pass. He is such a efficient passer that you can't. And Dan Lanning is such a ballsy play caller. I'm not sure. He's probably not actually calling the plays. I don't believe Will Stein's. It's such a ballsy coach, the team in general, offensively especially, that you had to worry about the pass. And so I didn't mind the pass on fourth down. I'm going to leave it to smarter minds than I am, than I have. See, that's a good example of how dumb I am. But when Hythloday comes on, I'd like to ask him about these specific plays. He'll probably be kind of over talking about it, but I'll be very interested, and I'm sure, listener, you will be too, to hear his perspective on these actual plays being called. Definitely cutting the field in half by sprinting out to your right. As they said on the, even a dummy like me could tell, there's one player really that play is designed for in the corner near the pylon. That didn't work out. So you're putting your eggs in one basket, and that was a bit rough. Certainly running it would be a little more digestible. But who knows? I mean, this game, as in, football in general, is decided by little moments, by little jukes, by a one missed tackle. So, I mean, and it's clear Dan Lanning made the decision. It's like any opportunity, we're going for it. I certainly didn't mind going for it on fourth down, too, because it truly felt like Michael Penix, even if we punt, you get, best case scenario, he's got to go like 99 yards. The way that offense was going. Credit to Oregon's defense in the second half. They really adjusted. They really were getting at Michael Penix. The hits were starting to affect him. He clearly was injured. I really like the guy, Michael Penix. I didn't want to see him injured, but it was clearly starting to give us the advantage. But I think Dan Lanning was thinking we cannot give the ball. I mean, it's 3 yards. 3 yards and you can win the game. So I absolutely don't, judge him for that. Because a lot of times, if you're looking around the Pac-12, looking around college football in general, a lot of people are just like, especially when it gets into overtime situations or situations where, you have a lead and you could go for it on fourth down, but instead you decide to punt and give, maybe your weaker side, not in our case, but your weaker side of the ball, now they have to save you. Like Arizona against USC, I think there was definitely some times where Jedd Fisch could have been a little more, gutsy. Could have used a little Dan Lanning in him. And so I don't mind going for that to ice the game. Because, again, we've got an efficient offense. Bo Nix had a great game. He wasn't a perfect game, but, hey, in Seattle, with all that pressure on him, we had the lead. He was absolutely awesome, QB1. Especially watch the post-game interview, too. He is so easy to root for. Honestly, both these QBs. And what's weird, I'll tell you this, both these teams in general, I truly hate Washington. Okay, don't be spreading any rumors that I don't. I truly hate Washington. Believe me when I say that. But you look around Twitter, and a lot of other people that absolutely hate Washington, and Washington fans that absolutely hate Oregon, they are giving each other, both teams, a lot more credit and kind of respectability than we're used to. And it's probably like enemies, like, let's say a Family Feud or something, like two cousins that hate each other. But then someone dies in the family, this person being the Pac-12. Maybe you get together at the funeral and you kind of bury the hatchet, or a little more cordial. I'm sure the hate will come back, especially in this new Big Ten that we're going to join, But it's probably a little bit knowing that this is the end of the Pac-12 and that we want it to be. Let's be real. I would rather not play Washington in the Pac-12 championship game just because I want better chances of winning it. I think we absolutely could beat them in Vegas. You'd be a fool not. It was a 3-point game. We arguably should have won the game. We didn't because Washington's a damn fine team. But we could totally beat them without the home field advantage, with more, just being a hopefully healthier team, but also just we're learning. Everyone on this coaching staff is young as hell. All these players are getting better every week. So I did think that was really interesting the Washington, Oregon. I mean, on Washington's side, it's probably really easy to be like, look like the big man when you've won. But I've been surprised about even more some of the more toxic Oregon accounts on the toxic social media X or Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. They are giving Washington more credit, and it probably helps. Like Michael Penix is so much harder to hate than like Jake Browning. Am I right? It was like an insult to the game sometimes to watch him play. I guess I mean offense. I was gonna say no offense, but yeah, I meant a lot of offense to that. Or just some of the other Washington teams. When it's just you're watching these huge flaws, and Washington is a flawed team, but this was a God damn, it's a little bit of a cliche, but this was a heavyweight fight, and this felt like just Washington had. We pushed in the end. We were the underdogs by 3 points, and that's what it ended up being. It literally ended up being, this is a pick 'em, but it's in Seattle, so give them the 3 points. Give them the home dog the 3 points. I mean, obviously, those 3 plays, the 2 fourth downs, in the goal that we went for it, we didn't make either. We lose by 3 points. Those could have been field goals. The missed field goal at the end, that hurts too. But also the 4th down that could have iced the game. We were so close, so damn close. Not only that, but how similar this game was in a lot of aspects to the last game we lost to Washington, that is also hard to stomach. All these things do make you forget about all the awesome things that happened that game too. Like how much pressure we were getting on them. The fact that our defense shored up in the second half. I mean, sure, we got picked apart by them in arguably the drive that mattered the most in the end there. But, I mean, remember, both our cornerbacks were down in that play. That felt like a knockout punch, honestly. It felt like we were donezo. But Bo Nix is, man, like he led us down the field, led us for the comebacks. Even missing those field goals, we still had a lead in this. Don't forget about the goal line stop. That was awesome. That would have been haunting Washington fans like all the time, all the plays that we failed in this. I definitely think there's criticism to be had. But and mainly the criticism I would say is when we're in those 4th down situations or the goals, like when we are going for the touchdown on 4th and goal, the plays that we had were, clearly not executed well enough. And so that's where it needs, that's some awesome tape, clearly. And hopefully Will Stein and Dan Lanning can take what could be an opportunity here and learn from that. A lot of people saying they're not learning from these situations because there's the rivalry losses. Against Oregon State, we were very aggressive and with a huge lead or big lead that should have been arguably enough to win the game. We blew it. Same against Washington. So I get what you mean. And it's just that thing where you kind of got to ride with it until we see how much of a trend this is. Just think of all these stories, all these stories in other conferences, like Harbaugh losing to Ohio State over and over and over. And then suddenly now, he's not winning the national championship yet, but that team is clearly in a top-tier elite level. They've made the playoffs recently. And Georgia was always like, but there's Bama. And Washington's not going to be this amazing Washington team every year. We're getting better and better recruits. Obviously this is me pumping rainbows in your blood. I'm mad too. That game sucked. That game hurt so bad. And now, my goal personally is not necessarily to make the playoffs for our team to make the playoffs. That'd be amazing, obviously. I want that natty desperately. However, the real goal, if you're a real Duck fan, hate to use that kind of language because it's fans use that kind of shit way too much, but in my opinion, okay, true Duck fans, all they want, or mainly what they need, is to make the Pac-12 championship game and to win the Pac-12 championship game. In the year it's dying, for the history books to say Oregon won the final Pac-12 championship game, or just the Pac-12 in general. They were the champs. That would mean a lot. It really would. And I know so many fans. I mean, this whole thing feels like Rat Race, or It's a Mad, 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 Mad World for you older folk listening or watching this. It feels like all these teams racing for what is the grand prize of winning the Pac before it goes away in what's been a fantastic season thus far. It's going to take us winning every damn game from here on out to make it to the Pac-12 championship. Most likely. I mean, USC, Utah, even Arizona, I guess. These teams, Oregon State, these teams would have to lose at least another time, which is, not just plausible, but it's absolutely going to happen for most of them. But if we lose another one, the odds definitely are not in our favor. So it's going to be a really, really tough task every single week going against these teams. Even the teams we're making fun of, like Utah doesn't have much of an offense right now, especially with Cam Rising. Well, we're going to have to play them in Salt Lake City, and their defense is for real. USC, yeah, they're really easy to make fun of. They are Caleb Williams, and it feels like if he's not going to have a perfect game, then they are just going to get embarrassed by almost anyone. It's kind of what, the narrative is right now, even though they've only have one loss. Well, they're going to play in Eugene, but that offense is legit. I mean, he is a Heisman winner for a reason. He's the number one pick in the NFL draft possibly for a reason, because that dude is legit. And if we have a bad day, that could be it, and we're out. So it's a lot, but either way, this team, there's so much to root for this team. I just ask fans who are, if you're feeling really, really bad about it, maybe take a step back, like go do something else, or go complain on message boards. I mean, who am I? Like, that's what they're there for. Or, you can be like a person that's like hopping on the fire Dan Lanning train right now. You're kind of nuts, but power to you. This is America, baby. I don't really care about that. Maybe don't be too much of an asshole to others in your own fan base. That's all I'm really asking for, but I have no power in this. But if you're feeling bad, just remember where we are at right now. Whatever this season goes, just talent-wise, cohesiveness, the fact that in general it seems like we're on the up and up. Remember what Cristobal did against Georgia Tech and Miami? That'll help too. But just think of the even short-term future. We're going to the Big Ten. I think Dan Lanning is here to stay. He's got a good buyout that hopefully will make him stay. But also I legit think I think he wants to be here for a good, long haul for what college football is nowadays anyways. And we're just going to get better. We're going to get a better roster. There's going to be higher stakes, probably worse seasons ahead, But I truly think this whole program's on the up and up. And I bet a lot of you agree with me. And one of these seasons, we're going to love how aggressive Dan Lanning is and be like, because let's look at some of the recent, behemoths of college football. And I'm talking about, of course, 2019 LSU. I hate the team too, okay? But let's be real. That offense was ridiculous. That team was pretty great. Yeah, they had, a bunch of close calls. Week 2, 45-38 to Texas. They had, some, head scratchers. 23-20 against Auburn. We know who's on that Auburn team. 46-41 against Bama. And then, they just dominated everybody else. But Georgia, last season, they had some weird ones. They had let's see, 26-22 at Missouri. Closer to Tennessee. I mean, they dominated Tennessee. Let's be real. They had that in the playoffs. I mean, if it wasn't for one missed field goal from Ohio State, which totally should have been made. I mean, you should never trust kickers. I love you, Camden Lewis, but I for one, knew that thing wasn't going in. I bet a bunch of Duck fans were just like, yep, we're done. Even though he made one from 45 earlier in the game. But Georgia was one missed field goal away. And that is still one of, the greatest teams in recent history. So just remember all these things, they come down to single plays, to drives going different ways, to turnovers. I mean, just take a minute and appreciate that was one hell of a game, and we almost beat them. And I hate the Huskies. I agree. But we almost beat one of the best teams in the country on the road. And we can maybe get another shot at them. And I'm excited about that. We got to take it week by week. Just try to enjoy it, I mean, I'm going to be heartbroken and bummed and pissy and on those message boards with you if we say lose to Oregon State in embarrassing fashion or just don't make the Pac-12 championship game. Like, it'll be crushing, but just try to remember the long haul, I think, right now. Or if Dan Lanning sucks, we'll upgrade. I don't know. I guess all I'm saying is I'm here for you, Duck fans. Thanks for listening. We're going to get through this together. Oh, my God. So, I mean, it's not like Alamo Bowl bad, right? I heard people online being like, this, in some ways, is worse than Cristobal against Georgia Tech. It's like, no, it isn't. Are you serious? This is a great opponent we just played. A great, terrible, shitty, organization, but like a great team, very efficient, like wonderful offense, certainly. And we almost had it. We should have had it. We blew it, but we're gonna live to Quack another day. Listeners, it's rough. I know after, this is probably like half the people that normally listen to this are gonna listen to this because I know when we suffer a big loss, last thing I want to do is listen to Oregon Ducks media. Some of you maybe take some solace in just hearing people grieve about it. I wish I was a little more negative for some of you, because I'm sure some of you would be like, get these rose glasses out of here. But, hey, man, everything is on the table still for us. Listen to that Bone Expressor if you want a little inspiration, because he's got a great head on his shoulders. We nearly had it, y'all. It's rough. Hopefully Dan Lanning, he says it's 100% on him. Hopefully he learns. Hopefully at the same time he doesn't. I love how aggressive he is. I would hate to think that because he was scared to lose, we didn't win. I mean, he was going for that field goal clearly, like kind of playing for that field goal at the end. But let's be real. He has bigger balls than Big Balls Chip Kelly in his prime. And look at some of these other Pac-12 teams if you want to feel a little bit better. Okay. Quack-12 fans, Duck fans, I love ya. I'm going to go do something that is not college football related. See you soon. We got a great interview with Fifth of the Day coming up. Probably talking to Wazoo, know-it-all. Okay. See you later. Ugh.